Hello, my name is Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm talking about the power of acceptance and loving kindness. Now, in this video, I want to talk about how I use these to delve into and let go of stuck emotions or energies. I guess you could use it for releasing a trauma. But first, I'm going to delve into a little bit about what loving kindness is, because although I talk about the power of loving kindness, some people might be unfamiliar with it. And loving kindness, let's get into it experientially first. So if you just kind of sit, close your eyes, think about your most favorite person in the world. What is the feeling? What are your wishes for them? Obviously, you would want them to be at peace. You want them to be happy, joyful. You want them to not have suffering. Generically, you could just say you want the best for them. But there is a visceral, tangible feeling to this. And so feel this, because you need to remember the feeling. And doing this sometimes primes the pump. Take your favorite person and start from there. But when they do loving kindness meditation, at least this is what I do, is you would sit and you would start with that feeling, and then you would expand the circle, so to speak. You would include other favorite people. You would include friends, family, co-workers, acquaintances. Then maybe you might expand to other members of congregations or organizations, companies you work for. You just keep expanding the circle. You further expand it to neighbors, people you know. Basically you're going from people you know well to people you do not know well, but you keep expanding and have this feeling. So you have maybe somebody you don't know well. I mean, somebody you maybe only met once. You're sticking with this feeling of, I want them to be happy. I want them to be joyful. I don't want them to suffer. I wish the best for them. And it's engaging the heart in this way, but you're adding more and more people to it. Now, for those that are advanced in this, you might even try to add people that perhaps haven't been nice to you. Maybe not outright enemies, but then you eventually start broaching into the side where you've got some baggage with somebody, or you've got some negative past history, and you tried to include them in this. You include them in this group of, I wish the best for you. I want you to be happy. I want you to be joyful. I want you to not suffer. And so you're kind of giving them best wishes. And it's an interesting way to meditate, and you can do this for a period of time. But I also like doing this during the day. And so as you're just encountering people in the world, as you're driving, every driver that is passing by works best if it's a single lane, so it's one car at a time and the traffic's not too horrible. But as you see a car pass, try to get a glimpse of the driver and just have this internal best wishes, kind of an internal blessing of, I want you to be happy, I want you to be joyful, I want you to be at peace, and I don't want you to suffer. I wish the best for you. And so you're actively throughout the day, as you're bumping into people, giving or expanding loving kindness to include the people you bump into. And it's an interesting exercise. Now, the power of the combination of acceptance and loving kindness is, I find recently in my own practicing loving kindness, I noticed something. There was a boss I had who was not very kind. And as I was expanding, including people, his face came to mind. And as his face came to mind, I noticed there was a little bit of an internal retraction. There was a little internal pulling back. And what I'm not suggesting is I'm not suggesting that you sugarcoat or, spiritually bypass or otherwise try to dismiss what happened and manufacture loving kindness for them. Instead, what ended up happening, and this is what I recommend, is as it pulled back and there was this light memory of what he did, instead of pulling back, I had to go into it. I had to fully embrace, fully accept what happened. Yes, he was not kind. And yes, he still might not be kind. He might not even be sorry for what he did. It doesn't matter. And so, once you fully accept the situation, accept what had happened, without resistance, you basically have just totally surrendered to, this is what happened, it's part of the past. From there, I found it was much easier to extend loving kindness to this prior boss. And in extending loving kindness to this person after fully embracing and accepting once again what had happened, it was like something changed. It was like there was a fissure that was mended. The person felt included. He wasn't on the outside. And so I find that this combination of acceptance and loving kindness might be a way to explore and resolve past traumas, or basically emotional baggage stored in the body. Because as you are going through and extending loving kindness to various people, you need to be aware of your own internal reactions at the same time. Yes, you have this feeling of, I want the best for them, but at some point you're going to encounter somebody where you might feel the pullback, the hesitation. And that is the signal that something must be accepted. There's still something being resisted, being denied, otherwise segregated and segmented and pushed away. It is other. It's being pushed as other. And the movement to being inclusive, to adding it in this, I wish the best for you, you're with me type thing, that fissure is exposed. And so it must be accepted. It must be embraced. It is only when you could allow, without further resentment, bad blood, negative feeling, you just need to let it go. You need to let the past is past. Actually, there was a TV series, Eunice Emery, Journey of Love, and one of the wandering dervishes, he would he'd wander around and say, the past is past, the dead is dead. And he was pointing out that, he was trying to point out you can't hold on to the past. Let go of the past. It's dead. It's gone. And in the same way, you need to no longer hold on to that. And when you're no longer holding on to that, you find, at least I do, I find it's very easy to then have your best wishes for them. I want them to be happy. I want them to be joyful. I want them to be at peace. I don't want them to suffer. And so I want them to be without suffering, happy, joyful, and at peace. And what they had done doesn't really matter. It is more that as a person, I mean, as another human being, you want the best for them. And this might be easier for some than others. I mean, I would say paired with this is kind of, it's somewhat like a hymns in a way, but there is no desire for the harm or death or misfortune on anybody. I mean, I would say that's become kind of a fundamental principle is, for me, is not wishing harm, misfortune, or death on anybody. And if you can have this not wishing them harm, now you're just trying, if you're neutral, then it's not so hard to then take the next step and wish the best for them. To have the loving kindness, this feeling of, I want you to be happy, I want you to be at peace, I want you to be joyful, and I want you to be without suffering. And so it's interesting to play with, I think, because like I said, you'll encounter people, could be even places, but you'll encounter things that as you're trying to extend loving kindness to all, anything, because it doesn't even have to be just humans. You can also do animals, plants, anything. In the end, loving kindness is extended to all. That is the ideal. The ideal is loving kindness extends to all, and there is no other. There's no outside group that there is no loving kindness for. And then you would just abide in this feeling of loving kindness for all. And that kind of changes that, well, on one level, it changes the circuitry of the brain, because a lot of Buddhists focus on this because they go, this is one of the ways you become happy, because it removes self-preoccupation and it starts moving a focus to a preoccupation and wishing the happiness for others. And it has these various mental effects, and it's rewiring the brain and opens the heart. And I mean, there's a lot of sub effects to this. That's why Buddhism and other teachings and systems focus on compassion or loving kindness so much. These heart-centered practices are actually quite deep. So I'd say play with it. Try it. Tell me what you think. If you got any questions, comments, please post below. Until next time, thank you much.